And welcome to Wide Awake News Radio. I'm your host, Charlie McGrath. It is the 28th day of August. Ooh, a little feedback there, Craig Simpson.
How about now?
No, good now. It sounds good now. I didn't get the back. We have Doug Owen in the chat room. So if you want to go over there and bust on Dirty Doug Owen, head to wideawakenews.com, click on the Wide Awake Radio tab, or the W.A.N tab, and there's a button there that says live chat. Get into the chat room, join the folks there. And joining me on via, are you on your cell phone via Skype?
Yeah, I am Skyping it on my cell phone on the 520 bridge right now in Seattle.
Yeah, it's producer Craig 33 from Doomcast. He is going to hang out with me tonight. He graciously volunteered to help me out because of some situations I've got going on that I'm going to get into tonight. And I told Doug that I'm in a dark place, and Doomcast might be interesting tonight. And his exact quotes were, will we have, wait a minute, no, this is Doug. This is the compassion of my co-founder of Doomcast, Doug Owen. I told him, Doug, I'm in a dark place, man. I'm going to talk a lot about being a vet who's dealing with a Gulf War expletive. And Doug's like,
man up.
Yeah, exactly. Should I be gentle with you? ? Or be like, nut the F up and motivate you with some wisdom and coach speak. And Doug, you know what? I'm not angry with you, but if you want to advise me to nut up, then by all means, that's your prerogative, and I encourage you to take it to the nth degree with your motivational speaking. I want to put this out here though: 877-342-6673. Now, I only want calls today. Are you still with me, Craig? Did I hang up on you?
I'm here.
I only want calls from veterans. Craig's a veteran of the Gulf War as well as, Somalia, right?
Somalia, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a veteran of the first Gulf War. Those of you who followed my YouTube channel or Doomcast or the Wide Awake News radio program here exclusively on the Rinse Radio Network, you know that I'm a veteran, and some of the stuff that I've been dealing with for the last 4 years. And I want to, if you're a veteran, call me. Brett will put you in queue, and I'll get you on here. I don't care if you're a vet of the Gulf War, the Vietnam War, the Second Gulf War, Afghanistan, Somalia. I especially want to hear from you if you have an ailment that you attribute to your time in service. If you're dealing with the Veterans Administration, I want to talk to you. This is therapy for you. This is therapy for me. And if you don't want to hear about this topic tonight, if you don't want to hear about veterans and the trials and tribulations of the veterans, then this is going to be a really, really long hour for you tonight. Craig Simpson, I appreciate you driving and talking to me at the same time. I don't know if you know. First of all, do you like my new speaker that Owen insisted I buy? Microphone.
Yeah, it really makes a difference. It always sounded like you were kind of nasal, kind of congested before. Sometimes you don't realize how bad something sounds or is until you change it.
Yeah.
And so it is a remarkable difference. It really sounds good.
Right.
And I think maybe with a little bit more power to your voice, Doug won't talk over you so much.
No, I doubt that. Doug Owen is very much.
Me too.
He's driven to say what he wants to say. Poor Doug. He's not even here.
Doug Steamroller Owen.
Yeah, he's Doug Steamroller. He's not even here to defend himself. But that's okay. We can pick on him. He's a big boy. He can handle it. Craig, can you hear me fine? I mean, you're driving. You're listening, right?
I can hear you just fine.
All right. Well, I'm going to give. Listen, and guys, I'm serious. Call in. If you're a veteran, call in. 877-342-6673. I rarely do the call-in thing. Get in here and tell your story. Tell me what you're dealing with. Tell me what you went through. I want to hear it. There's a lot of us out there.
And if you burn shitters, head of the line.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Did you ever do that, Craig? I did. Tons.
Oh, I was on the burning shitters squad. Yeah.
Well, I might as well been, the squad leader, because every time you stepped out of line at all, you would get nominated for that duty. And I burned crap in Iraq, or in Saudi Arabia. I burned crap in Kuwait. I burned crap in Iraq. I mean, I've
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm a multinational crap burner. I really don't think that's the issue that is plaguing me right now. And can I just spill my guts here, Craig? It's
Yes.
probably several minutes in a row. All
You're
right.
a fellow ship burner. Yes.
All right. Well, my service, my service began prior to anything that was going on in the Gulf. But I do believe that there was 700,000 Americans that were in the Gulf for this war, for this Papa Bush's first war. And think about that for a minute. 700,000. This far out surpasses the number of people that have been involved with the current war in Iraq, or I should say the current about to be new war in Iraq, the 2003 invasion, anything that was happening inside of Afghanistan. Never even came close to those kind of numbers. The shocking statistic with that is over 200,000 of these veterans came home, and either immediately or in some cases, 30 years virtually after the fact, started to become sick, and they're with no explanation why. Look, if you're listening and you're not a vet, and you're having stomach issues or you're having pulmonary issues, you go to the doctor, and the chances are they're going to be able to figure out what's wrong with you. Now, it might be a costly endeavor, and they might be doing, CT scans and X-rays and doing all different kinds of tests to you, but they'll eventually probably figure out what's going on with you. But there is a population in this country, a large population in this country, that they don't know what the hell's wrong with them. So much so that the VA is finally acknowledging that Gulf War syndrome exists. And, as far as you Vietnam vets out there, at least within, from 91 to now, right, at least our government is recognizing that this is a condition, right? They recognize that there's a lot of sick people out there that have a multitude of symptoms, that there's no explanation other than their time in service. Now, the folks in the Vietnam era, it took even longer for the government to realize things such as Agent Orange were killing you off slowly. But back to my point, 700,000, 200,000 come back with something wrong with them. And in some cases, as it is in mine, and Craig, I hope you never join this category. It took a long time to manifest. And when my symptoms did start to manifest, I was absolutely 100% convinced that it was nothing more than asthma. It was nothing more than something going on in my pulmonary system. Nothing more going on in my stomach. Just by the fact I was 41 years old and these things happen. But I learned after years of stubborn resistance that my situation, although very unique to the doctors I visited, is not unique to a very large population in this country. And namely, 200,000 that are either have been experiencing symptoms for years, or they manifest later on in life. And it leads me to have one conclusion. I look, if you have asthma, if you have stomach issues, the kind of tests and the kind of things you go through to figure out what you got, and then they plug you on to, in some cases they do operations, like they did in the case of my sinuses. In some cases they put you on different kinds of medications, as in the case of my asthma. Sometimes they go a little bit further, as they're about to do with this massive probe into my inner body through my mouth and into my stomach and down into my intestine, trying to figure out what in the hell is going on with my system. And to a doctor, and there's been a lot of them, to a doctor, they've told me, they've all came back with the exact same thing. We don't know what's wrong with you. We know there's something wrong with you because, these symptoms are manifesting themselves, but we don't know what it is. And I'm not talking rookies right out of medical school. I'm talking doctors with 20, 30 years experience. So much so that I was able to speak candidly with some of them and talk to them about my experience and give them information on other veterans who were going down this same path, to the point where some of them have helped me with my process of dealing with the Veterans Administration on this issue. Because I'm here to tell you all right now, I appreciate the donations that come in from the videos. I appreciate the donations that come in through Doomcast. But over the last 4.5 years, I have spent through personally myself or my insurance, we're pushing $250,000 easily, just trying to figure out what is going on inside of my body. Now, Craig, you've never heard any of that before, I don't think, have you?
Not in that much detail, no.
Well, it's about to even get more detail as the potential causes of this. And you feel free to chime in. This is completely unrehearsed, unscripted. And I'm going to bounce back and forth to some of the things that happened in my life, in my experience in the Gulf, that I believe, Craig already mentioned, burning crap. That was one of them. But there's a plethora of other things that occurred that I know somebody listening to my voice right now, besides Craig, somebody else experienced this. Somebody else is out there at a point of, I don't want to say desperation, but I'll say, that's basically what it is. When you don't know, and there is nothing getting better. It's only continuing to either get worse, sometimes stabilize for a little bit, or manifesting new symptoms, and it is beyond frustrating. It's beyond frustrating. So I see these statistics where we have, these thousands of veterans every year killing themselves, and
21 a day.
Yeah, 21 a day. Thanks, Craig.
21 a day.
21 a day. And look, I always think that is the coward's way out. There's people that care about me. Craig cares about me. Doug Owen cares about me. My son, obviously, would be absolutely devastated. These are things that when you get to that point, I don't know what you're feeling in order to make that final step to end your life. But I understand the frustration. I completely understand the absolute frustration that these men and women are feeling when they were healthy individuals and enjoying life to be brought to a point where they don't know what the hell's going on. They don't know what the next day is going to bring. They don't know when they're going to end up in the emergency room next. They don't know if there's ever going to be anything that's going to make them better. And they don't know when the hell the next shoe is going to drop and the next symptom is going to manifest on them, or how that's going to affect them or their job or their financial situation or their life or their friends or their family. They just don't know. And this not knowing, the status of being, as my doctors say, we don't know what the hell is wrong with you. I want you to go to the next specialist. That is beyond frustrating. And I have extreme empathy for our veterans in this country and what they're going through. I'll say it again before I take Meat Dog, who's on the phone. He's a vet of the Vietnam era. I'll say it again. There is help for you. If you get to that point, if you get to the point where you are just ready to pull the trigger, or you're ready to down, 30 or 40 Ambien so you can make it your last stand, or go into the garage and turn the car on. Man, there's help for you somewhere. I don't care if it's your church or if it's walking into a Narcanon or Al-Anon, or walking into your emergency room and saying straight up, man, I'm thinking of killing myself. This is what you need to do. You need to walk in and tell somebody. I don't care if it's a cop. You go in and you go into your police station and you go into a fire station. You go into any public utility, as it were, and you tell them, I'm ready to end it all. And you get some kind of help. You get some kind of supervision, because 21 a day is beyond insane. It's beyond reason to me. And everybody has something or someone that's going to be devastated by that ultimate act. Meat Dog, I'm looking at the clock right now. We have 5 full minutes, so welcome to the program. And you are a veteran of the Vietnam War, correct?
Well, not the war, but the Vietnam era. So
Okay.
I want to be specific on that. So I didn't serve in Vietnam. I was stationed in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel a little bit guilty calling in because I don't have any real horror stories. I mean, I really had a good time. I was drafted in October of '72 and got out 2 years later. And before I went in, I was a long-haired, dope-smoking, beer-guzzling, concert-going, skirt-chasing hippie, and who protested the war in Vietnam part-time. And then I was drafted in October of '72, and the only difference is I didn't protest the war anymore, and I had short hair. And I was very close to going to Canada or Sweden because there was no way in hell I was going to go to Vietnam. That just wasn't an option. But by the time I was drafted, only volunteers were going to Nam. So I didn't have to make that difficult choice. But I had a good time in Germany. I saw Steve Winwood in concert. I saw the Rolling Stones for the Goat's Head Soup Tour. I saw Chicago. I saw a Grateful Dead concert. You know, I made a trip to England and I got to see Stonehenge. But when I got out of the Army, though, I kind of had something of a nervous breakdown or something very close to it. And I was on medication for a while. And it could be the transition of not smoking opiated hash and drinking copious amounts of beer, possibly getting out.
Right.
Going cold turkey, so to speak. And I was on psychiatric medication for a while, and then it was just temporary, but I used to have a problem with hyperventilating. What's the term you use?
Panic attacks?
Anxiety attacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I've only had a few of them. From what I understand, anxiety attacks, generally speaking, are people that come from repressed backgrounds. And my stepfather was a very authoritarian career military man.
Right.
So I think coming from that background, I have a tendency to stuff things. How that played into my role in the Army, I don't know. So I kind of feel guilty calling in because I don't have any horror stories of Gulf War syndrome or any really, really horrible things that happened to me.
Well, no, you don't have to. I mean, I appreciate you calling in. You're a veteran, and I asked for veterans to call in. So Germany was awesome. I lived there for 2 years. I lived in Nuremberg, very big city, and it was absolutely a wonderfully fun time. And I'm not here to say that you signed that dotted line and your life is going to be a hell forever. But I certainly had no anticipation of ending up in the Gulf. I had no anticipation of taking experimental vaccines. I had no anticipation of spending a month with 700 burning oil wells, blackening the skies every single day, and tasting that oil, burn down my throat. I had no anticipation of, as Craig mentioned earlier, spending hours and hours and hours on end burning human feces over a barrel of regular gas and diesel. And these things, I believe, have caused a lot of our veterans to be sick. So, I'm glad that you enjoyed your time in Germany because it was wonderful when I was there, and I appreciate you calling in. Thank you.
I was stationed in Augsburg.
I don't know where that's at. Where is that?
Southern Germany. It's near Munich.
Oh, okay, I was north of you. Nuremberg's north of Munich, and you were down there in Bavaria.
I was in the ASA, the Army Security Agency. Believe it or not.
I was in the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment in the 501st Military Intelligence Company. So that's what I did for my time in Germany.
I had a top secret clearance.
There you go. Thank you, Meade. I appreciate you calling in.
Thanks.
Yeah. Craig, go ahead.
Even if a person didn't, wasn't shooting guns, etc., or in the war zone, one thing I found is that just if you're in the military, it'll stress you out. And there was a university did this study, and I don't remember the university or the name of it, but they took a bunch of mice and they put them in in the end, like a hermetically sealed kind of fish tank.
Mm-hmm.
They put them and they scared the crap out of them. Terrified them. So these mice were just terrified day in, day out. Then they removed that kind of hermetically sealed tank of mice, and then they put another tank of mice in there, and they were all instantly terrified.
Interesting.
So they did this test one.
You're kind of breaking up on me a little bit, Krager.
Himself is actually an energy. So if you're in the military and you're around other veterans, etc., you're absorbing, existentially. I think it can give you PTSD just having been in the military.
Ooh, you've invented something new, contact PTSD.
Contact PTSD.
Listen, Water Lily in the chat room said, I'm going to read this for you. I hear the music playing. I know my brother had DU on him. I don't, am I catching a fragment here? I don't know what DU is. I want to get it out of him. Charlie is losing it here. There is hope. There is help. And Water, get on the phone. Call in 877-342-6673. We'll be back with Craig Simpson and hopefully Water Lily to explain that a little bit. Hang tight. All right, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath joined by Craig Simpson 33, producer of the program that I'm going to do after this program tonight, Doomcast. And thanks for hanging out with me, fellow veteran Craig Simpson. We do have Water Lily 01 on the line, and I'm going to get right to this call because I'm going to read the comment here first. It's I know my brother had DU on him. I want to get it out of him. Charlie is losing it here. There is hope. There is help. And it might have been part of a conversation that I missed the first couple texts on. But Water Lily, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate your call.
Well, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm quite well.
Hello.
My brother was a contractor with the company,
right.
And he went to crazy places and did put up man traps and stuff and
Sure.
worked in embassies and stuff. But my brother went to Afghanistan about 2.5 years ago, and when he came back, he looked like death. He looked like he was dying. And he's my younger brother by 3 years. And so I just started working on him. He didn't know what to do. His teeth were starting to fall out.
What is DU, though? Let me ask you that. Right.
Depleted uranium.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I should have figured that out. But okay.
Depleted uranium. And he was exposed to it because he was in a forward fire base, and they were firing this stuff off, and he breathed it. He was exposed to it. And so what I did for him is I realized right away he was very, very sick. And so we started using bentonite clay and just mixing it with water and drink it. It will pull it out of the body. And charcoal, pull it out of the body. What I had to do was try and chelate him, try and pull this stuff out of his body. And at the same time, give him a lot of nutrition. And if you'd have seen my brother when he came back, and if you see him now, he is so much better. So there is hope. And you have to keep in mind, there are other people that are working on this that are very, very concerned about it. People that are Gulf War veterans, Gulf War I. Joyce Riley is one on the Genesis Communications Network. She does the Power Hour, and she was given like 10 vaccines. She was a flight nurse, and they gave them all of these vaccines before they went over to Gulf War I, and they darn near killed them all. They made her very, very ill, and she's been working with veterans.
That is such a common story. I mean, when I was stationed in Germany, when we went to the Gulf, there was, everybody that's been in the military, when you go in, you spend, one of your first days getting inoculated, and you get shot up with a bunch of different drugs in order to make you fit for service, apparently. But when, that you can relate. A meat dog, you can relate because you went to Germany. So you had all these shots, all these vaccines, all this time getting these air gun shooting chemicals into you. But when we went to the Gulf, it was fivefold that. It was a full day, hours and hours and hours going from one booth to the next, getting a shot for this, that, and everything. And if you're 20 years old, you don't know. You're not giving your informed consent in order to go in and take these vaccines and take these shots. You're just told some kind of horror story, as your flight nurse example there. They're told a horror story of what it's like to die from botulism or anthrax. So they take the shot thinking, you know what, this is the right thing. My government would never lie to me or try anything to put anything into my body that wasn't safe. And we're finding out now that a lot of this stuff is killer. And some of it, the veterans were immediately affected, and some of them it took 20 or 30 years. Go ahead, Lily.
Oh, well, one of the things that I can tell you is I live in the Washington, D.C. area, and I get a lot of veterans that are returning. Mm-hmm. And many of them are losing their joints. They can't walk. And it's the squalene in the vaccines. Squalene is a really wonderful substance to take if you eat it. Mm-hmm. But if it's injected into your bloodstream, it's a foreign protein. And it identifies itself with your cartilage in your joints. And when it's finished beating up whatever they injected you with, it just attacks your joints. Right. And I was noticing that so many of the returning veterans, they could hardly walk anymore. They were in such pain. Yeah. And it was a result of these shots. And I'm sure they meant well, but this is a blowback. This is a unintended consequence.
Yeah. No, I have no doubt about it. I have no doubt about it. And I greatly appreciate you helping your brother, who came back, even though he was a contractor. He's still, what's the difference? You're still exposed to the same kind of biohazards and situation, and the things that you see are just as gruesome and just as horrifying. So, Waterloo, I thank you very much. What did you mean by I'm losing it? What does that mean?
Well, because you feel like I kind of feel like you feel like you're hopeless.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
No, there's so much help out there. There's a lot of help going on, and get with Joyce Riley. Yeah, she's a Gulf War veteran who got beat up and brutalized as a nurse.
I've been sent emails before from multiple different people recommending that I do just that, get a hold of her and do a program with her or talk to her and get her on this program.
You should really actually do a program with her. She is absolutely brilliant. She has been through the ringer just like you. Yeah. And she's battling cancer now, and she absolutely refuses to do it the conventional, the doctor way, the medical doctor way. She's doing it another way. Right. And I don't know how that's going, but
yeah, I definitely, matter of fact, tonight after I'm done recording with Doug Owen, I'll send her an email because I do believe I have her contact information. So, all right. Well, I appreciate your call. We have Thelma on the line as well. Poor Craig sitting there silent, but I'm going to ask you, Craig, real quick. Do you have any comments you want to make to Water Lily or questions for her by chance?
Oh, well, I would just have, my take on it is, I don't, it was mentioned that maybe the shots and the unique and occasional pills that we took over there, the intent was good behind them. I would just say I question that. Yeah. Other than that, that's all.
All right. Well, Waterloo, I greatly appreciate you calling in. I'm going to get Thelma on here because we're only about 2 minutes before the next break. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll see you in the chat room. Thelma, thank you very much for calling in. I appreciate it. Are you a veteran or are you a family member of a veteran? Tell me your story.
No, I just happened to listen to what that lady was saying, and that was incredible. She's right on track. Also, with the clay water that she talked about using, you can use psyllium husk, which is an intestinal cleanse. I'm actually doing one right now. The psyllium husk will go in the whole.
Where are you buying that at? Where are you getting the psyllium husk at? Online or health food store?
Yes. And then I add the clay water because the psyllium husk scratches everything off of the pipes, what I'm calling them, like a roto-rooter. It goes into your intestines, scratches off all the toxins, and then the clay water absorbs it. If you look these things up, and I would suggest a liver detox, Edgar Casey has an excellent liver detox. He uses castor oil packs. And Dr. Deagle, have you ever heard of him?
Absolutely.
Okay, Dr. Deagle is offering, I think he was offering it for free for all the people on that ship that got exposed to radiation, that he would, he is great. I've used his products. I got rid of a tumor in my dog's mouth that way, and I had worked on it for 4 or 5 years with what I knew. And another thing that you should be thinking about is zeolite.
Thelma, hang tight.
I believe, I'm not sure. I believe
Thelma, hang tight. We have to take this break. It's computer generated, so we have no choice but to take it. We'll be right back. Bill, we know we got you holding as well. We're going to take this short break, and we'll be back with more Wide Awake News Radio. Hang tight. Craig, can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. And,
yeah. Okay. Live. There we go. We're live. Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Final segment, short segment. Brett, do we still have callers? Thelma, are you there? Bill, are you there?
Here.
Okay, Thelma is still there. I'm going to assume Bill is still there, but before I just heard you say something, Bill. So hang tight for 1 sec. Before we
give
turn
me your email, Charlie. I'll send it all to you.
Yeah, info@wideawakenews.com. Just put Gulf War in the subject, and I'll make sure I get it. Craig, I wanted to ask you real quick while we've had Thelma on the line, because we're talking about vaccines and that kind of thing. When you took the shots wherever you were stationed before you went to the Gulf. I'm sure you had another battery of shots other than the ones you took just when you enlisted. Am I right?
Oh yeah. I mean, when you enlist, you get a bunch, but then anytime you go anywhere, you get a battery of them. Depends on where you're going, how many they are. But yeah, the first time going to the Gulf, we got, and in my unit, we used to kind of get them all at once. You just kind of go through the line and you get 3 at once, 5 at once. Yeah. I think that the corpsmen like to have fun with us, so we'd get, and a lot of people would just pass out after that. And then going to Somalia, we got a lot, and we were on anti-malaria medicine, pills, and those made us.
Do you want me to hang up?
They made us. Oh,
go ahead, Craig.
Yeah. And they made us burn from the sun, like the anti-malaria medication. Like we are in a desert, and now, like if the sun even touches you, you'd get a nasty sunburn. So,
right. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because I had those as well, and you're right. Every time, regardless if you're the first day in the military, one of the things you do is go get a bunch of shots. But if you go to Germany, you're going to get some more shots. If you're going to deploy if you're going to deploy somewhere else, you're going to get more shots. But what I distinctly remember is within 48 hours of crossing the berms from Saudi Arabia into Iraq is a doctor lining up our company and telling them the horrors of anthrax death and botulism death, and then telling us we have a vaccine. It is experimental, and we, in fact, had to sign off on it because we were taking something that wasn't FDA approved. And we took it to a man. Every single one of us took this shot because we were all terrified of dying from anthrax, from being bombed by Saddam Hussein with some kind of chemical or biological weapon, and dying a gruesome death on the battlefield. We all said, well, we'll worry about it later on. And personally, I think that's one of the key events that happened that made so many people sick. Did you take that same shot?
We got it in a pill form, and we got a couple different pills that we took, and we would take them a couple times a day, and that was scheduled when we took them. So same thing, same speech, but for us it was pills.
Okay, all right. Well, Thelma, I appreciate your call. Please send me that information. I'm going to rush you off just so I can get Bill on here. Looking at the clock, we have about 5 minutes left. So thank you very much, Thelma. I appreciate your call and your information. Bill, thank you for hanging out so long. I appreciate you calling in. Tell me about, are you a vet, family member of a vet? Tell me the deal.
Yes, I'm a disabled military veteran from the Vietnam era. I did not serve in combat, but for several months while in Thailand, I was stationed in Bangkok, which is their capital city and heavily polluted, which is similar to your experience of burning items with diesel fuel and gasoline. Sure. And I would suggest that the problem with your body is called multiple chemical hypersensitivity, which is something I have been diagnosed with. And the reason your allopathic doctors cannot find anything wrong, although they do know that something is wrong, is that they do not have means of looking inside the cells, because that's where all the machinery is of converting food into energy and various action and making new cells. Mm-hmm. So that's a very complex thing. And what I would suggest you try to do is that even if you prescribe synthetic drugs or over-the-counter synthetic drugs, it's the synthetic nature that is something like the diesel fuel fumes and other things, the vaccinations that you have already been exposed to. So you want to remove all synthetic things out of your diet, your medications, your food. Look at the list of ingredients, and to the best of your ability, eat only organic foods. And keep in mind that even some of them do have chemicals which you may now be sensitive to.
That's a great point.
In general, if you can avoid chemicals that are bothering you, if you can avoid them for a period of 2 years, you may be over them affecting you adversely. So what I have been trying to do is to grow my own food, and it's not easy. Right. I eventually did get disability payments from the VA, and they did everything they tried to stop that.
Right.
But
when did you get your? Let me ask you this. When did
service-connected disability, which is less than half of service-connected disability, and if I was to take every pill and potion and drop and everything that every naturopath physician suggests, I could not afford to live.
Sure.
I could not do
Bill,
it.
can you hear me? Okay, let me ask you this. Bill, let me ask you this. I appreciate all your information, and it's very wise information. I have no doubt that what you're suggesting would be beneficial to anybody listening, myself included. But let me ask you this: your claims process. Now, you said you were a Vietnam era veteran. When did you begin your claims process? And it doesn't matter if you were stationed in Bangkok or Bangladesh or it doesn't really matter. If you're burning crap, you're burning crap, and that is not a mystery now. It's a proven fact that there's thousands and thousands of veterans who were exposed to that. Guys, it isn't like you see maybe on some war movies where they're stirring it for 2 or 3 minutes, or they just light it on fire and walk away. That isn't how it works. You're there for hours and hours. You'll have a half a 55-gallon drum filled with human waste that you fill the rest of the way with a mixture of regular gasoline and diesel gas, or diesel fuel, and you light it on fire, and then you have to sit there and constantly mix that slurry until it burns off into the atmosphere and there's nothing left but ash. And it is a process that takes hours. So even if you were only, if you're deployed, in my situation, for almost a year in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Kuwait, well, guess what? There was probably at least, in my case alone, at least 20 occasions alone where I was on some kind of duty where I spent hours and hours in front of this burning cesspool. So it absolutely could be.
Let me help you with some more information.
Sure.
It only takes 2 mega dose exposures in order to become a victim of chemical sensitivity. Right. The first exposure sets up the condition, but you don't have the symptoms. The second massive exposure is when you do have the symptoms.
Right. Bill, I hate to do this to you. I hate to send me any information you want, info@wideawakenews.com, subject at Gulf War. I promise I'll look at it, but I'm going to let you go only because I have about a minute left, and I want to get Craig's thoughts on this. There's a lot of veterans who were not like you and me, who are not in combat zones, but are still coming back with some kind of issue going on. So the problem is much broader than just combat zones. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, it definitely is. It's the entire theater. I mean, if you were in the Middle East at all during the Gulf Wars, or if you're there now, you were exposed as much as anybody else, most likely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And even some of the boys who and girls who are going out, they're stationed in, El Paso, or they're stationed somewhere in the East Coast. You know what? If they're going out into the field a decade ago, then they were probably very well could be exposed to some of the same things that the folks that were in combat were. They could have been out there burning waste or being exposed to depleted uranium, and the list goes on. Real quickly, I just want to say this, Greg. The chemical detectors that were in place when I was in the military, no less than 6 times did they go off, and we went all to MOP level 4. Now, your suit, your chemical suit, is absolutely worthless after you've ripped it out of its sealed bag and you wear it, but that didn't stop us from repacking it and using it time and time again. We bombed. For a fact, we bombed pesticide companies, other medical facilities, not to mention the 700-plus oil wells that burned for months on end that thousands and thousands of troops are exposed to. If you're a veteran and you're having difficulty, like Waterloo said, there is help for you. Don't take the ultimate stupidity move and end it all. There is help for you. Like I said, I don't care if you walk to your church, walk to your police station, walk to a hospital. You tell them that you're off your wits' end. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're going to do to yourself, and get help. I'm tired of this 21 veterans a day killing themselves. All right, guys. Craig, thanks for hanging out with me for an hour. Thanks to all the callers. I'll be recording Doomcast here in just a few minutes with Doug Owen. I hope everybody has a great night. Enjoys the rest of the programming here on the Rinse Radio Network. Have a good night. Peace.